It's the nighttime edition, y'all. I promised I was going to get on here tonight to continue my series on From Unmothered to Empowered. And so here I am. I'm on Janika Brooks, everybody, in case you haven't been to my page before. And so I'm actually hopping on here tonight. This isn't something that I normally do, but I'm on here tonight because I have a bunch of stuff to do this weekend. And so tomorrow, me and baby girl are going out birthday shopping. So, you know, kids come first. So I got to hop on here and do, you know, business stuff tonight. So anyway, I promised you guys some content. And I said that I was going to continue my series that I have been going live and talking about. It's called From Unmothered to Empowered. And tonight we're going to be talking about the transformational power of a mindset shift. And let's just hop right into it. So I'm on Janika Brooks. I am the author of this little book here, Unmothered, A Daughter's Guide to Acceptance, Healing, and Renewal. And so I've written this book to help those of you out there that are like me, who have experienced a toxic mother or a narcissistic mother. That's the mom that you grew up with, or that was your story, and you are ready to heal. And so talking about mindset tonight, because I think that it's important to know that when a shift happens, it can be really powerful, and it can actually propel you, you know, into all of the things that are out there for you, all of the things that are meant for you. So that's what I want to talk about. And so, you know, I was definitely there, probably like a lot of you are. And when you grow up in a home with a mom that's not giving you everything that you need, or she's not able to, she's emotionally unavailable, whatever the issue may be, or she's just really narcissistic into herself, you know, she's not able to share what she needs to share with you. She's not able to guide and to teach. When you grow up like that, you know, you're going to be missing some things. And so for me, before I could even begin to think about healing, I was just in a space of, you know, trying to make my mom be what I wanted her to be. And this was even before she passed away, because eventually she passed away of breast cancer. But before she passed, you know, it was like a battle, an emotional battle, trying to make her be who I wanted her to be, who I needed her to be. And, you know, I wasn't into that acceptance phase yet. I see the wife coach. Hey, LB. So I wasn't into the acceptance phase because, you know, despite how my mom treated me as a child, despite the things she said and didn't say, I still loved her because she's my mother, right? And so I wanted us to have this wonderful relationship. I wanted us to be really close. And I was really close to my grandma. And so I thought, you know, we were going to have this bond. And we weren't bonding because of so many of the things that she had been through, right? She, you know, she had a traumatic start to her life. And so, and then in some of the relationships she had, including the one with my father, things didn't go, you know, like she had wanted them to. And so because of that, a lot of her stuff was passed down to me. And so when I first started just looking at the whole thing, looking at why I was upset, why I was unhappy with the relationship we were having, I wasn't ready to heal. And I wasn't ready to heal because, like I said, I couldn't accept it. Couldn't accept my mother for who she was. Couldn't accept that we probably weren't going to have the relationship that I wanted to have. You know, just couldn't believe that she wasn't going to do and be who I wanted her to be. She just wasn't capable. And so I stayed there. And I think that that's what happens to a lot of us. So I wrote the book for people that are ready to heal. And I just want to say that everybody is not there. And that's okay. Everybody is not at the point where they're ready to, you know, attack the problem, to look it in the face, to deal with it. And that's okay. On this healing journey, it's going to be different for everybody. The way that I came to it isn't going to be maybe the same way that you came to it. Or when I did it might not be the timing that you have. And so I wrote the book, though, so that when you're ready, you have the steps. And the book came to me because, like I said before in some of my other lives, God told me to write it. After I had finished laying my mother to rest, and I was still deeply, deeply in pain and trying to understand everything, I heard a distinct message that said, you're going to get through it. In fact, you are getting through it, and you're going to write about it. And so that's where the book came from. So transformation, the power of mindset. So that's what I'm talking about tonight. And so, like I said, you have to be in a space that you're ready to heal. Now, once you're ready to heal, how are you going to know that? Well, for me, I began to see some of the toxic traits that had kind of been handed down to me. I began to see them playing out, like in my relationship, my marriage. I didn't have kids yet, but I wanted children. And because I couldn't heal right away, even at the point where I actually had kids, I could still like hear some of my mother, like her voice in my head. Like sometimes I would want to talk to them a certain way, and I could like hear how I had been spoken to. And so a lot of things were happening at once. It was even playing out at work. I began to question my own abilities. Was I worthy of the job? Was I able to do it? Because of, again, all the things I had heard when I was growing up. That maybe I wasn't good enough, or I didn't look the part for this, or I was too shy or too quiet to do that. And so those things were in my head, and it just kind of all began to play out at once. And that's how I knew I could do this anymore. I was like, okay, no, this has to stop. And so I think that when you're ready to heal, something like that might happen to you. Things could begin to play out in your relationship, in your everyday life, and you will just be like, okay, I've had enough of this. It could be like if your mom is still around, you and her might be getting into it. It could be happening a lot. There could be arguments and things that don't feel good. Like you're constantly, it's drama all the time. And you've gotten to the point where you're thinking, this isn't a good life. This isn't what I want my life to be. So something like that could happen. Another thing that could happen is just you realize that the pain is just great, and you're going through day to day. And even though you guys aren't getting into it, like maybe you've even gone no contact with her, or maybe you're not talking, you're distancing yourself. But at the point where you notice you're doing that, and you're really trying to deal with the pain, you might begin to say, this isn't the life that I want. This isn't how I imagine things. And I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to accept this. Just because this is the way it is right now doesn't mean that I have to stay in this place, in this stuck place, in this hurt place. And so at the point that you do that, you are more than likely ready to make that mindset shift and to begin the true healing journey. And so at that point, you're probably, a good candidate, I would say, for the 9 steps of healing that I talk about in my book, because the very first step is acceptance. And it happens with acknowledging, who your mother is, and like being honest about how you grew up. A lot of us don't like to talk about the things that happen. And no, you're not supposed to be disrespectful. I know, how we grew up. However, we have to be real, and we have to tell the truth. And everything wasn't sweet, right? It wasn't the way it should have been. And we just have to say that. And so when you're ready to heal, I have the 9 steps for you. These are the steps that I went through. I'm not out here professing that it's going to work for everybody, but I think that it is a process that you can definitely apply when you're ready. And so the reason that I believe that when you're ready and you start to take the steps of acceptance, healing, and renewal, to get your life back on track, when you're ready, it is an extremely powerful shift that happens. Why? Well, one, it's because it forces you to look at the possibilities. It forces you to begin to say, okay, how could things be different? I don't like what I'm feeling. So how can I change that? Is there something better? It just makes you stop and pause, and you say to yourself, so why do I have to, keep on the same path? If this is the way my mother spoke to me, or this is the way I was raised in my home, and I didn't like it, why can't I change that? And so when you begin to, the wheels start turning in your head, I feel like it's almost like you're awakened. Your eyes are open, and you're just looking around, and you begin to see that, okay, things can be better. It's going to take work, but you know that things can be better. And so that whole just awakening, it begins to move you. And that's when you're on the healing journey, because now all right, it's going to take work, but I'm awake, and I can see that my future can be much brighter. Nobody says that it has to be exactly what I came from, just because that's where I came from. Nobody says that the gifts and talents that I have can't be applied in, some way that I haven't thought of yet. It's just that you might have been told, that you weren't going to be anything. Or you might have been told that you weren't good enough. Or you might have just not been affirmed. Or you might not have heard enough positive things to believe that you could be good at, X, Y, or Z. And so now that your eyes are open, and now that you are aware of the pain, and now that you know that things can be different for you, and you want that, I think that it just causes a shift in your spirit. And so when you have that shift happen, the next thing you want to do is set some goals. So it's not enough to just say, okay, I don't like the pain, and I'm ready to heal. But when you're really, truly walking it out, you will begin to set some goals, and you might even surprise yourself. And so, and I'm not talking about really huge things. One of the things I talk about in my book, and this is in the renewal chapter, but it's things like, what types of food are you going to eat? Do you want to be healthier than maybe the way you were raised, right? Do you want to make changes? And I'm not saying that everything that you went through and everything that you experienced was bad. Certainly not. And for me, it wasn't all bad. It was a mix of it. But there was enough of it that, where I felt unmothered. There was enough of things that I didn't get that definitely showed up later in life and definitely affected my life. And so, yeah, there were changes I wanted to make with my children. And so I think that you will set some goals as far as things that you want to achieve. I feel that, you might say, hey, why not me? You want to be a millionaire? It's not crazy talk. It really isn't. You can work for all the things that you want, but you have to have a positive mindset that tells you that you can go get it. You have to change the way you were basically trained, whether it was things that were said, or you just assumed you couldn't do things because of how you were treated. You have to change that mindset and shift into something new. And when you shift into the new, you bring all of the positive energy, right? And so when I talked about forgiveness last week, I talked about why it was good to do it when you're able to. It's good to forgive because it frees up your energy. So now, instead of rehashing all of the old, the things that you can't change, wishing, it had been different, and kind of spinning your wheels, you take all of that energy and that positive momentum into your new way of thinking. And so your new way of thinking says that you can do things. It says that you will be different. It says that your story is going to be different. It says that you are going to reach new levels. And the biggest part of the transformation, I think the biggest part is that you break the cycle. So this is the part. This is where the cycle gets broken. We talk about generational curses a lot. It's really the mind shift. It's really, changing your mindset to something new. So if your mother wasn't there for you in certain ways when you were growing up, you are going to begin to think about how you're going to show up differently, with your children, for example, if you have children, or how you're going to show up differently in your romantic relationship, or, in your marriage, or whatever it is. You're going to think about ways to be different. And that is how we break the curse. That is how we stop that cycle from going forward. And so the mind shift is so important because it does all those things. It in a way just sets you free so that you are now on your healing journey, right? You are no longer captive by the past. Okay? That doesn't mean that you've forgotten the past. And so I want to be clear with that. Doesn't mean that you've forgotten, that you've erased it. It just means that you have decided. You have decided, made a conscious decision that you're ready to move forward. You're ready to heal. And so it's powerful because of that. And now you've decided that you want higher, you want better, you want more, and you do not want this to continue in your bloodline. And so that is the whole power of the mindset shift. That is why I feel like it's transformational. It is the turning point, because when you're ready, you can take all the next steps. You can take the steps. I don't feel you can learn the 9 steps to healing if you are still in the stuck place. And so I'm talking to those of you out there that have gone through the same thing that I have, or something very similar, where your mother wasn't there for you emotionally like you needed her to be. Like mine was physically in the house, but emotionally she was not able to give me the lessons, the love that I wanted. And I know deep down inside she loved me, but she wasn't able to show it. And it made a difference. And so if you are that woman and you are out there and you feel like, okay, something's got to change, then I think it's time for my book. And I'll briefly cover the 9 steps of healing just so that you know what they are. And then I will leave you with that, because this nighttime edition isn't something that I'm planning to do all the time. But like I said, baby girl has a birthday, and we're going to do some birthday shopping tomorrow. And so the babies come first. So anyway, so let me hit you with the 9 steps to healing. So I have the book broken down into 3 parts, and the first part is acceptance. The second part is healing. The last part is renewal. So within the acceptance part of the book, there's 3 steps, and the first step is to acknowledge. You have to acknowledge that there's something wrong, or that there was something wrong in my case, since my mother has passed away, that there was something wrong. And let me just say, the fact that she passed away didn't erase the pain. It actually was greater because she was no longer with me. So it didn't erase the pain. It was just like I had to deal with it on my own, right? So I still had to acknowledge that she wasn't the mother that I needed her to be. And then the second step is to know the backstory. So I needed to know what happened to my mother in order to understand what things not to repeat, in order to understand, how she felt, and just to be able to empathize with that part, because, you are a human and she's a human, and you need to be able to behave like a human. We're not made of stone. And so just to be able to understand, it was important for me to know the backstory, know some of the things that had happened to her and how they affected her, and then how they played out once I came along. So, and then the third part is to accept the person for who they are. I call it mask off, because you're accepting that you cannot change your mother. You cannot make her into who you need her to be. She is who she is, and you have to deal with that. Okay? Not meaning you have to love it, but meaning you have to stop expecting her to applaud all the things you do if you know that that's not her. If you know that when you tell her you just got a raise or something, she's just like, whatever, because she might be a little bit jealous, she might have some other feelings about that, then don't expect those kinds of things from her, because it's not going to happen. And it can be hurtful that it doesn't happen, but you just have to understand that the more you expect that, that's really you trying to change her into someone else, and that takes a whole lot of energy. All right. So after those first 3 steps, which is the acceptance, we move into healing in the book. And so healing is broken down into 2 parts. It's grief and it's forgiveness. And so I talk about the fact that you have to grieve the loss of the relationship that you wish you had. And I didn't do that. I didn't do that before she passed away. And it was hell when she died, because I never let go of the fact that I wanted that relationship. And sometimes you just have to understand that it's not going to be what you want it to be. So I say, grieve the loss of the mother-daughter relationship that you wish you had. Grieve it now. And you might need to, secondly, grieve her lost potential. My mom was brilliant, was smart, was an amazing woman. Could have done anything she wanted to do, but she chose certain things. And I wanted so much more for her. But I should have known, to let that go, because I stayed in that place. So I want you to grieve that loss, that she's not going to be maybe who you think she could be. Maybe you want to brag about your mom and you don't feel like you can. You're just going to have to accept that. So let it hurt, feel it, grieve it. And then for those of us that have lost her, yes, we have to grieve the process of her passing and that she's no longer here. But for some of you, you have to consider how that might feel to you, because you might be no contact. You might be trying to get this relationship to work and it's not working. I say, just go ahead and kind of let yourself consider it. I know that's a delicate situation and that's a delicate topic, because nobody really likes to think about death. But the reason I say to do it is because it can help prepare you. Because the thing that I never thought in all of this was that I would lose her. I never thought that I would lose her. So in all that we were going through, the fighting, the bickering, the trying to get her to be whatever, I never thought she wasn't going to be here to do that. I thought I had time. I thought I was going to always have time. And I didn't have that time. And so then we move into forgiveness. And so with forgiveness, we are on step 6. And it tells you, we're on step 7 with forgiveness. And it tells you to forgive those that hurt you. And so that could be your mother. That could be other family members that kind of wouldn't listen or, supported some of the things she did, or said, that's your mama. You got to love her. You can't treat her like that. Went through all of that. You have to forgive people that hurt you in any other way. And I say have to because it's key to freeing up your energy so you can move to the next step. But forgiveness comes when you're ready. Believe that. When you're not ready to do it, you can't make it happen. Yes, it's a choice that you decide, I'm going to move forward, but it takes some pieces to fall into place before your heart is really ready to do that. And I talk about it more in the book. And yes, I think there are only some things that God can do. And so, sometimes when you want to forgive and you're not able to, you just got to pray on that thing and you got to wait on it. Pray on it, wait on it. And there's only some things only God can do. And so if you want to forgive and you don't know how, I would hand it over to him and ask him to help you with it. I'm a firm believer that he will do it. And so we ask him to help you with it, and you wait. And so when you're ready to forgive, you will. And then the second part of forgiveness is forgiving yourself. That's the tough part. That's the hard part. It's forgiving you. But you have to show yourself that love. And you need to be able to forgive you, because you got to release yourself from perfection. You got to give yourself the grace and say, okay, I didn't know everything. Okay, I was trying to raise myself, or I was trying to figure it out by myself, or I knew some stuff and I still did wrong. But you got to give yourself that grace. Because if you don't, you just stay there. You just stay there repeating, the hurt, playing it over and over again, and you won't move forward. And if you guys hear somebody snoring, that's my dog Luna over here in the corner snoring, because she has to be involved in everything. And so after you have gone through forgiveness, then you're ready to step into renewal. And renewal is the last step, because I believe that, like I said, it takes deciding that you don't want to do this anymore. It takes the actions setting the goals, looking distinctly at the things that you want to be different in your life and calling them out and saying, this is what I'm going to change. And that all is a part of renewal. And you literally, sit there and you make a list of what you want to see change, what you want to refresh, what you want to be new. You can even talk about some of the things that you want to keep, but the key is to know that going forward, things can be different than they were in the past, that your story can be different. And so those are the 9 steps. Acknowledge what's going on. Know the backstory of what happened to your mother. Accept her for who she is. Grieve the loss of the mother-daughter relationship. Grieve her lost potential. You might have to grieve her death or the idea that she might eventually pass and you two aren't on good terms. Then you need to forgive her, forgive others, forgive yourself, and then step into renewal. So those are the 9 steps. That is all I have on the transformational power of having a mindset shift when you're ready to heal. If you have any questions for me, you can drop me some questions. Hi, Cynthia. Thanks for coming on. Yeah, so that's the nighttime talk, guys. Just want to make sure that I stay true to this whole thing, because this is really like just trying to help people has been has been a joyous experience. I've had some nice things happen with work lately, but this is like my heart's work, and so I'm just so happy to be here, even in the nighttime hours, sharing with you guys. So if you have questions, you can DM me. You can go to my website. My email address is there. There's so many ways to contact me. I have a contact form there. And certainly, if you want to talk more about being unmothered and how you go from being unmothered to empowered, then hit me up. I have scheduling on my website, and we can do a 20-minute completely free session where I can listen to you and kind of see where you are and see if I might be able to help. And so that's where I am. That's what's going on. You can also DM me if you want to talk as well, and we can set up time that way. But I'm here for you. I do have some blogs up. I have a few more that I need to post. But yeah, and you can go back and look at my previous lives too if you want to know more about the series that I've been doing called From Unmothered to Empowered. The lives are there. You can watch them. Yeah, hit me up anytime. So I'm going to release you, good people. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. I hope you're having a good weekend too. Spring is coming. Spring is tomorrow. So yeah, so get out, have some fun, enjoy your family, do some self-care and all that good stuff. And I hope to catch you in the next live. Bye.